Hello, welcome to Out of the Ashes. My name is Tiffni Trobaugh, the author of the Out of the Ashes, the Fallen One series. And I wanted to start today by reading Chapter 2, Part 2 of our story. It was a privilege to be called his. A dragon that was called to be God's radiated light everywhere they went in their spirit. Darkness could not penetrate their soul. The light that lived in them was too strong for the darkness to overcome them. In the stories, darkness said that the light they carried was so powerful it could disperse the plans of evil just by calling on God's name. A barrier that would surround them to whom he loved, and the evil could not touch them. No matter what sorcery they spoke or magic they conjured, it was useless against those God called to his side. I often played like I was a bearer of that light when I was younger. I would imagine dispelling darkness and walking through the rubble that I left behind by my light stream. Me and God would go on grand adventures together, taking down our enemies. We would fight by side, hand in hand, against the darkness that thought itself formidable as our opponent, only to be sadly mistaken that when they faced us in battle, they were no match against us. For as long as I can remember, I have thought that I was misunderstood and that there was something that was wrong with me because I didn't want to be like my father. I didn't want to be evil. My father sought things out like it was a sport. Rage and anger were his only emotions that he could find happiness in. I never knew what happened to my mother. She's never been a part of my life. I don't know if she is dead or alive. Part of me wishes to know where she was at and how she was doing now, but then the other part of me feels that she doesn't deserve to know me now. My heart tends to think that I must be more like her because I am nothing like my father, but I will never know. I don't want to know. My father sees a hurt man in the woods and he automatically goes in for the kill. I see a hurt man in the woods and my first instinct is to go and get him to safety, then find out what's wrong with him and heal him. Me and my father are worlds apart, and I feel so alone. That is why I go to the cave behind the waterfalls. It feels so peaceful there. I can just be myself, alone with my thoughts and my feelings, and I don't have to be ashamed, whatever they may be. If my father had anything to do or say about the matter, he would just say I wasn't being productive enough for him. And if I hadn't set at least a few villages on fire by lunch, he would torment me with phrases like, "I swear there's just something wrong with you. When I was your age, I used to love to burn forests to the ground just to see them burn. Does Drake's blood even throw through your veins?" I would just cringe when he would just tell me stories when I was younger about the damage that he and his father would cause. I would bow my head and feel bad for the families that had to deal with so much pain. My heart would ache for them. I could barely breathe thinking about all the hurt and pain they had to have felt because of my father. Their loved ones gone, homes gone, pets gone. Devastation they had experienced must have been unbearable. When I would go to the cave for peace to get away from him, I could rest and imagine a life that didn't involve so much killing and loss. I could see myself giving kids a lift from the watering hole back to their home safely. I would imagine that I would help the farmer down the road till up the dirt of his garden and move heavy logs and rocks out of his way. I could always envision my strength being used for good instead of evil and hurt. My fire could light a stick for the mama to light her home in the evenings. I could protect them from harm. My flight could help them get messages or aid to those in love that they loved far away. I could never understand why we had to hurt people. For the most part, people were just afraid of us dragons. But they didn't need to be. Not of me, at least. I was intrigued by them. I wanted to know more about their lives and their families. I wanted to know how I could help them live better and be happier. With every fiber of my being, I longed to be good to them. And every time I would make this suggestion to my father to be different, he would answer to the effect that it was not the way our dragon ancestors taught us how to be. And they would know they were older and smarter than I was. He would just belittle my thoughts and treat me as if I was unable to measure up to his caliber of thinking. He always had this way of making me feel bad for even thinking about such thoughts. I felt like an outcast to my father. I often wondered if he was even my father because we were so different. One day in the cave, I was talking out loud to myself, and out of nowhere, someone answered. I was questioning why his way had to be the only way for me to live, complaining to the walls that I should just run away, that I could take care of myself, and that I didn't need him any longer. I was a full-grown dragon, and I could make my own decisions on where I should be and who I should be. The next thing I knew, I was seeing a different life than the one that I was living. I was flying over the treetops, and I was protecting this group of people, and I was helping them get into this settlement for safety. I was wearing this armor that appeared to be reflecting light for them to see where they were going. My skin was clean and it was warm. I was wearing a protective shield on my head that sat on my horn tops and was secured under my chin. The people were so thankful for my help. The little kids ran up and they hugged my tail. They brought me baskets of food to show their appreciation. I realized that what I was seeing was who I wanted to become. I felt so unworthy, but my heart just ached for it to be true with everything in me. Only my eyes showed the truth as the tears ran down my cheek. The innocence of my childhood would soon be unraveled by my father's harsh laughter. He would torment me with jokes and riddles about my battles against the darkness. When I was young and naive, I would get angry and I would yell at him that God and I could take on the world, that we were stronger than anything the evil could throw our way. My arguments would soon tarry there as I would get older and my father's words would grow within me. Somewhere along the way, my father sought me as his enemy that needed to be torn down with his hurtful quips. When I became a teenage dragon, I felt that it was better for me to just get away from him as much as I could. That's why the cave became so important to me. It became my solitary refuge away from his abusive voice. He always told me that he was just turning me into the dragon that could one day take the world on. That one day, if I just listened to him and his teachings, I would become this undeniable mighty force that no one would be able to come up against. But I didn't want to be evil. I didn't want to hurt others. I didn't want to kill for gold and hoard it in a mountain to sleep with my riches and treasures that were bigger than anyone else's. Too bad God didn't create a gift for those who like to run away from their enemies, because I could definitely say I'd mastered that one by now. My catchphrase for my superpower of good would be spoken right before I used my gift. Then God said, "Let there be light." Once I said that, a light would shine forth, and it would heal the sick, it would free those being held against their will, and would be forever changed to do what to do and to be good from now on. What we don't know is that there's a great multitude of variables that go into one single decision that needs to be made. We only see a choice of two different paths that we can choose to walk on. However, there was so much more that we don't see that brought us to this point in our life. It all begins with our family bloodline and the choices that our ancestors made in their lives. The good and the bad choices gave them the consequences that affected every family member down the line. One single selfish moment and your life was forever changed, and after they pass on from this life, they can no longer do anything about it. The course is set in stone, and everyone else is left to clean up your mess. You don't feel this is true? Then you've never had a disobedient, angry father, or a bloodthirsty, killing uncle who watched you from time to time. Everyone in your family has affected your life in one way or another. Some are good effects and some bad ones, but in one way or another, They've affected you. But is that effect that they have on your life avoidable? Can it be stopped? Can you get away from all this hurt, pain, and devastation that your family have bestowed upon you? Do I have to live out the bad choices that my family have brought into my life for me to become? Just because my father is mean and to people, does that mean that I have to be? If my mother was dark and evil to other dragons, does that mean that I have to be like her? What if there is a reason that I'm drawn to the light and that I don't want to be good and I want to be good, not evil? What could the reason be? Could I be my version of who a dragon should be? Could I help people instead of killing them? Was I strong enough to bear the weight that being the dragon that I wanted to be was going to bring me? These were the questions that I was speaking out loud in the cave when the light appeared and spoke to me. I know I had a wild imagination and a creative spirit, but I was still surprised and a little scared when God first appeared to me. I jumped and turned around to see who had just spoken to me, and out of nowhere this little electric floating blue glowing ball said, "Yes, Alistair, you can break the curses of your family bloodline." I thought I had finally lost my mind and was seeing and hearing things, but nope, it was there and it was talking to me. To me. How did he know me? He called me by name. Was he an alien? Where did he come from? And before I knew it, he answered my questions again. "Alistair, I am not an alien. I am he. I am God, the maker of heaven and earth. I know you and I created you." His voice was so soothing to me. Oh my goodness, God was here and he was talking to me. Me, Alistair, a nobody, a worthless dragon that couldn't do anything right. Wait, what? How did he hear my thoughts? I can hear your thoughts because I am he. I am he that created you. He keeps saying that he created me. I don't know why but there feels like there's something that he's leaving out. It feels like there's a but coming at the end of his sentence. And if he is God, the God Almighty, why has he let this hurt and pain terrorize the people? Why doesn't he help them and protect them from dragons like my father? Wait, why didn't he protect me from my father? I had so many questions that I just wanted answered. I sat down on the cold cave dirt floor and remained quiet, just listening. Alistair, just breathe. Sit with me for a while and let me tell you about the beginning of time. I sat there and I patiently listened as God began to tell me the intricate details of why he created earth, the heavens, and his people. As intriguing as everything that he was telling me was, I was so warm and comfortable with him there with me. He was telling me his great plans and that he had once had for the League of Protectors and then the people's purpose in heaven, to live together in peace and in harmony. That he created 12 dragons and they would be chosen to serve in this great army. We would be held in the highest honor. We would be given a new skin that would reflect God's light everywhere. We would wear helmets that would be made of the strongest armor to protect us. Our scales would be individually plated of the same indestructible armor that no darkness would ever be able to pierce. We would be stationed all around heaven's perimeter to guard against evil coming in anywhere closer to God or his beloved. He was getting so excited talking about the plans that he had for us all. I started to get excited with him. He kept talking about people with such love and grace and mercy. He would talk about some of the first days that he had that after he had created them. How they would walk together for hours and talk about the plans that they had for the garden. He talked to this one person that he keeps recollecting. His name was Adam. Such a warm heart. However, he also told me about how the darkness snuck in and stole the people away from him to hurt him. He said that it was a very sad day for him because he had to curse him and his wife for disobedience. He said the relationship with people have never been the same since then. I felt bad for God, having such a strained relationship with them, with his creation. I wish there was something that I could do to help. I asked God if there was something that I could do to help, and all he said was that I could help by staying on my righteous path for my future. I felt like there had to be more that I could do, but he assured me that I was doing all that he could ask of me. My thoughts were there with God, but my heart couldn't let their relationship troubles go. When God was telling me the purpose of the lives of the League of Protectors, he said that they were there to radiate God's glory throughout the earth. I couldn't help but feel that the people had lost their truth about God in their history, just like the dragons had. Alistair's thoughts began to wander about how he could reveal the truth to God to them again. Then he remembered that dragons and people didn't get along so well. So how was that going to work out for either of them? He knew he was going to have to think about this for a while. God's presence filled the cave, and it was like there was a warm, cozy fire in the cave with him. All of Alistair's feelings of shame and hurt melted away. His mind cleared, and he was at peace. He hadn't been this peaceful in a long time. He drifted off to sleep, a deep sleep, with the thoughts, I am Alistair, and I am never going to be who my father wants me to be. I was going to figure all of this out for myself. I was going to help God. I was going to guide the people back into God's glory. I was called to be a light bearer. And that concludes today's reading of Out of the Ashes, Chapter 2, Part 2. I want to make sure that you know to go to our YouTube channel and click subscribe. And also, don't forget, you can go to Amazon.com today and purchase your copy of the book Out of the Ashes so that you can read along with us for the next reading.